morning, good afternoon. How we doing? It's come to my attention that I've been a little too making too many jokes and having too much fun with this. So what I want to do, I want to keep it very serious. Okay. So we're going to do cumulative problems 6, 7, and 13 to 17. I'm just kidding. I can't do that. So let's start with number 6 here. Okay. Remember this problem. We're talking about increasing and decreasing. Whenever we're writing intervals for increasing and decreasing, all right, we are going to use our x values to write those intervals. All right. Our function may be increasing, but I'm going to write the x values in which those values are increasing. So if you look at this graph, I'm constant here, I decrease here, and my graph increases from there to there. I'm going to use my x values. I start at 0, and I stop increasing at 3. Okay? And I'm using my x values. Decreasing, I'm decreasing here, and I'm decreasing here. Alright, sorry this is not perfect. I'm decreasing here, so that's from -2 to 0. And then again, from 3 to, there's that arrow, infinity. Now I realize this function is pointing downwards, okay? When we're talking about intervals, remember we are thinking about our x values. So as our function is decreasing, x is starting to get bigger and bigger and bigger and go on forever. Okay. Remember, we should not have any brackets on any of these numbers as well because we are not including them. Okay, we do not include. Where is our interval constant? Well, it's constant from here on out. So it starts over here, -infinity, and stops being constant at -2. What is the domain of my function? The domain of the function. Well, this goes on forever. Our arrow here goes on forever towards -infinity. Alright, and our arrow here goes on forever towards positive infinity. So my domain is from -infinity to positive infinity. What is the range? The range is read from bottom to top. I can't see the bottom because this is going on forever in the negative direction, so that's -infinity. To top, well, I stop up here, and although I've covered it up, our constant here, or excuse me, our y value here is an open dot, which means I cannot include it. I cannot include 9, so I put a little parenthesis around it. Alright? What is f of -8? Which means I go to -8 here, my x value, and find my y value. That's 1. F of 3. Go to 3 at the x. I have 2 open dots and 1 closed dot. Remember, the open dots means x will not equal. The closed dot is actually the value you want to look at. So our answer there is 3. Okay. The price of a new iPhone, including 5.25% sales tax, is $473.10. Okay. What was the original price? So including sales tax, that means my original, you can think about it as x. Okay, so if my original price is x, my sales tax will be 0.0525 times the original, which will equal our final price. Now some of you may be able to skip this step in your head, and that's totally fine. 1.0525x equals 473.10. Divide both sides. X should be, what did I get? 449.50. That is our original price. Okay, notice how my original price is smaller than my final price. That should be true. If I'm including sales tax, my number shouldn't grow. Okay, think about if you're shopping and you have a discount. If there's a discount, my price will get smaller. If it's sales tax, everything that you buy has sales tax. All right. If I have a price that's $449, okay, if I add the sales tax to it, that price is going to increase. All right, so that's how you know my original price should be smaller than my final price. Whew. Now we're jumping to number 13. Number 13. Okay, for 13, please find the amplitude, period, horizontal and vertical shift of the following. All right, well, first of all, amplitude is, remember you have this standard form here. All right, we have the standard form for our sine and cosine. Y equals A times, since our first one is cosine, I'll do cosine of B times X minus C plus D. The amplitude is absolute value of A, so that is 5. The period is 2 pi over my B value, which is factored out for me, and that's 3. So my period is 2 pi divided by 3. The horizontal shift is my C value, which is here. All right, that's negative, so that's left pi. And I'm adding 0, so that's just, there is none. You could write none as well. None. Maybe none will be easier. Just write none. Okay, goodbye. All right. Here, second one, amplitude. Absolute value of A, 5. Period. 2 pi over 2, so pi. Horizontal shift, none. Vertical shift, my D value, down 3, which would shift my midline. Remember that. Remember that. Remember it. Why don't you remember it? Here we go. So, here, my amplitude is 1. Okay, period. I have to factor out a 4. Well, if I do 2 pi divided by 4, I get minus pi over 2. Okay, so my period is 2 pi over 4, which is also pi over 2. It just worked out that these were the same. All right, that's not always going to be the case. Horizontal shift. Horizontal shift is my C value. All right, my C value is minus pi over 2. So when I subtract, I move to the right, pi over 2. And my D value means up 1. Weird, wild stuff. Okay. Please write one negative sine equation. Okay. So normally sine looks like this, right? I go from the midline, maximum, mid, minimum. But I want a negative, so I want it to be flipped and look like that. So I'm going to look right here. Look at this period there. Okay. First thing I want to determine was, first thing I want to determine is my midline. What's the middle? Well, if I go from -3 to 3, I travel 6 units. Okay. That means my amplitude has to be 3. Okay. Next thing I want to think about is, well, knowing that if my midline is 0, there was not a vertical shift. There's none. Okay. To get my period, all right, this is, so it's going up by pi over 8, 2 pi over 8, 3 pi over 8, 4 pi over 8, 5 pi over 8, 6 pi over 8. So I end it, this is 6 pi over 8, and I start at 2 pi over 8. So to find my period, I do 6 pi over 8 minus 2 pi over 8 to get 4 pi over 8, which is pi over 2. So my period is pi over 2. So to find the period, I'm going to do pi over 2 equal to 2 pi over my B value, because this is how I find my period, 2 pi divided by B. if I think about this as a fraction equal to a fraction, I multiply this by b, multiply this by 2, cross multiply. I don't like saying that, but that's what we're doing here, right? So I get pi times b equals 4 pi. All right, 2 times 2, b times pi. Divide both sides by pi. I get my b value of 4. So b is 4, period, is pi over 2. Well, there was a horizontal shift since I'm starting over here. I'm starting at 2 pi over 8. Okay. Well, if I want to reduce 2 pi over 8, if I reduce 2 pi over 8, okay, that's going to be 2 over 8, pi over 4. All right, and that's, I'm shifting, sorry, to the right. To the right, pi over 4. All right, so now I'm dealing with the sign, so I have to plug everything in. All right, plug everything into my equation. So my final equation will look like this. Let's actually do some changing here. Let's make this blue. Okay. So, y equals amplitude. Since we're looking for a negative, that'll be a -3. I'm looking for one negative sign here. Sine. B value is 4. Right, pi over 4, so it's going to be x minus pi over 4. And there is not a vertical shift, so close it up. All right, and just leave it like that. Just leave it like that. I'm going to pause that video here, okay, and I'll do 15, 16, and 17 on the next one. All right.